Hi, I am Vishal Prabhukhanolkar. Let us talk about corporate finance. What do we mean by corporate finance? Corporate finance is the process of taking financial decisions and the analysis that goes behind taking these financial decisions. Before going into what kind of decisions a corporate finance limits into, let's first figure out what are the goals of corporate finance. There are two goals of corporate finance. First, maximize the overall corporate value. And the second is manage the financial risk. Financial risk cannot be completely eliminated. That is why the word manage. So minimize the financial risk. So there are two goals. First, maximize the corporate value, and second, minimize the financial risk. The combination of these two decide various corporate financial decisions. Based on the impact of the corporate financial decisions, these decisions can be divided into two parts, two categories. First category, long-term financial decisions. So these include investment decisions, financing decisions, and dividend decisions. What do we mean by investment decisions? For example, a company gets two proposals to start a project. Which of these projects should the company invest into? Because the funds are limited, where the funds have to be deployed is a decision which has to be taken. This kind of decision is called a investment decision. Why is this decision critical? The decision is critical because the total amount of money is limited. Once we decide to go for a particular project, we are essentially deciding to not go for other projects. That is denying the opportunity to those projects. Hence, this decision has to be made very critically. What is a financing decision? Once we decide to go for a particular project, we have to decide two things. First, how much will we invest in and in over how much period? That is the first decision under financing decision. The second is this financing can be done in multiple forms. One is a company might have cash, ready cash available, that cash can be put in. Second, debt can be put in, that is a loan can be taken from various financial institutions and put in the project. Or third, equity can be raised and the project can be financed, or a combination of all these three. So the decision of the structure of the financing also comes under financing decision, which is a long-term decision. And the third decision that comes under long-term decision is a dividend decision. What do we mean by dividend decisions? At the end of a financial year, a company is left with a particular amount of cash which is generated through operating activities throughout the year. Now this cash can be completely utilized inside the company for future operations, or the other option is to give out dividend to the shareholders, because the shareholders have invested in the company and they should get some returns. Now the amount of money we give out to shareholders, that much amount of money is not available for future investments. Hence, how much money should be given out to the shareholders becomes a critical decision, and hence that is called a dividend decision. This comes under long-term financing decision. The other aspect is short-term financing decisions. Short-term financial decisions are basically nothing but related to working capital management. What do we mean by working capital? The liquid capital needed for managing day-to-day operations at the company over the working capital duration. So that duration can be a day, can be a week, can be a month or a quarter or a year for that matter. That is called working capital decision. That is a short-term decision because we are not taking a long-term view. We are just saying that to sustain the current operations, we need this much amount of money. How do we generate that money? How do we utilize that money? So there are multiple decisions which come under short-term decisions. One is cash decision. How much cash should be maintained? How much cash should be taken as a loan in small-term loans, short-term loans, or how much cash should be maintained as cash hoard itself. Second is inventory. Inventory is nothing but the amount of raw material, amount of work in process goods or amount of final goods that you store in the premises or in the business. That inventory is nothing but the money stored in form of raw material or work in process or the goods which is not yet liquidated. So the money is not available for direct consumption. So how much amount of inventory to keep also becomes a decision. Higher the inventory, lesser the cash available. Lesser the inventory, higher the cash available. So depending on the business decisions, business needs, this decision becomes a short-term financial decision. Another part of working capital management is current assets and current liabilities. Managing both these also is part of short-term financial decision. So we have seen long-term financial decision and short-term financial decision. The third major part is managing financial risk. So some part of the money is invested by the company as a corporate financial decision into various financial instruments. So managing those instruments such that a particular amount of liquidity is available to the company and at the same time the risk is not too high. So making that decision and investing that money also comes under corporate finance.